If you've been following the SoCHiology podcast since I launched it in 2021, you will be aware of the reverse psychology sub-series, which is basically unpopular Chicago opinions from Chicago. You will also be aware of the SAT, the SoCHiology awareness test, where I quiz random Chicagoans about different questions in regards to Chicago history and culture. Well, this Black History Month, I'm introducing the ChicaGOATS sub-series. This is basically a Black Chicago history blitz that details and gives brief summaries of different Black Chicagoans that lived in our city and did great things in their respective careers and left a huge impact not on the city but on the entire world. So without further ado, let's get into it. From Harold Washington to Harold's Chicken and everything in between and beyond, this is SoCHiology. Whenever you get on social media, you're going to see ads, advertisements, whether you're on Instagram, Facebook, or watching a video on YouTube. When you're scrolling, when you're watching something, advertisements are just going to come out of nowhere and just jump out at you, because advertisements are the lifeblood of businesses. The more money that they spend on advertisements mean the more eyes, the more impressions that's going to see those advertisements, which means the more minds are going to decide that they need to purchase the service or the product that those advertisements showed you. Companies spend big money on advertisements in 2024, but it was 100 years ago in 1924 that a Black man in Chicago was born that will make his mark in this industry. This episode is about the Advertiser, Vincent T. Cullors. Born in Chicago in 1924 in the Bronzeville neighborhood, Vincent T. Cullors attended DuSable High School, and after he graduated, he entered the Art Institute of Chicago. Once World War II broke out, though, he entered the war and enlisted in the Marine Corps, where he became a combat artist serving in the Pacific Theater. He would illustrate certain combat scenes and the everyday life in battle for a fellow soldier. After the war, he returned to Chicago and got married, and it was at that point he was trying to find work as a freelance illustrator, but he couldn't find any permanent work because of segregation and racism, of course. But thankfully for him, in 1953, he earned a position as the art director for Ebony magazine, and this gave him the money he needed to start his own business, and this was around a time where the civil rights movement was beginning to pick up steam in 1954. In 1956, Vincent T. Cullors started the Vincent Cullors Advertisement. It's here where he handled the artwork, and his wife Marion was responsible for the administration. The mission of the agency was to open up the advertising market to the African American audience and to change the way advertising was done for African Americans. For years, the agency was a creative hub and school for young advertising students in the Black American community. Vince became a teacher and an employer to many of them. The beginning of his business was very modest. Revenues was low, but eventually he landed his big break in 1968 when he signed a major contract with the Lorillard Tobacco Company. Cullors created a campaign for them starring a Black man wearing a traditional dashiki clothing. Next, the Johnson Products Company here in Chicago also hired Vincent to market their Afro Sheen campaign, a line of hair products for Black people. Other major clients that Vincent T. Cullors secured was Pizza Hut, Sears, and Kellogg's. In 1973, the annual revenue was over $2.5 million. In 1990, it was $20 million. In addition to print and television advertising, the agency also helped produce TV programs such as Soul Train, which is also a Chicago staple. In 1997, Vincent T. Cullors handed the business over to his youngest son, Jeffrey, and in 2002, due to health problems, he retired. Vincent T. Cullors died on October 4th, 2003, and became an ancestor at the age of 79. His body currently rests at the Lincoln Cemetery in Blue Island, Illinois. But the ChicaGOAT was pioneering and trailblazing, and because of his courage, because of his foresight, he was able to open the floodgates for many more Black Americans to make their mark in this tough industry known as advertisement. If you enjoyed this podcast, I ask for two things and I will love you forever. Number one, please engage with us on social media. So like, share, subscribe, and comment on whatever platform you're listening to it on. And number two, please make sure you pass on to a friend who will enjoy it as well.